Hey folks, it's Abby and this precariously balanced stack are my 25-star reads from 2025. Let's break this down into something a little more manageable and go through them. Of course, some of these books have been mentioned in my 10 best books of 2025 video, so I won't be going into much detail for those books. Let's dive straight in. First up is The Haunted House on Hollow Hill by Landy. This is a fantastic audio production. If you listen to the podcast audiobook, highly recommend. Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin I buddy read with the wonderful Olivia Savannah from Olivia's Catastrophe, and this is so good. We're following a young white man called David in 1950s Paris, but he is American and he's waiting for his fiancée to return from her own solo holiday to Spain before he goes back to the United States, and he ends up making friends with Giovanni, a handsome Italian barman, and two men are drawn into an intense affair. Then his fiancée returns and Giovanni is heartbroken and lots of stuff like that, and it's just such a beautifully written book, and I really would love to read some more from James Baldwin. The Song Rising by Samantha Shannon. So I have 3 books from the Bone Season on here, and I always struggle to describe the Bone Season. In the Bone Season we follow Paige Mahoney. She is an Irish woman, a young woman, living in London that is controlled by Xiran, which is a colonial overpower that decides that they hate clairvoyant people, who are people with powers in this world and make up a surprising amount of the population. But people have to hide it, or they end up getting killed, captured, or enrolled in the police because Xiran does not like these people. And it is following Paige when she is then captured and ends up in one of their more secretive prisons, and goes from there. There are 5 books in the series, so I won't be able to say much about any of them, but I should say that this is a reread because the author has released her preferred texts, which are updated versions. She first wrote The Bone Season when she was 19, and she's now a few years older than me, and I'm 29, so she's been able to update a few things and just kind of iron out some inconsistencies. Then we have The Eyes of Gaza by Plestia Alaqad. This is diary entries from 2013 up to 2025 about her living in Gaza and then working as a journalist before then escaping to Australia. This is one of the ones that was in my top 10. Heart Full of Hatred by Landy. This is a Skullduggery Pleasant book. This is book 18, I'm not sure, but the first book follows a young Irish girl, about 13-14 years old, who ends up meeting a walking, talking skeleton and delves into this magical, mystical world of death and violence that he's in. It's a middle grade series and is surprisingly dark, considering it's still middle grade, and I adore them. Then we have The Mask Falling by Samantha Shannon. This is another reread of the Bone Season series. Then also Samantha Shannon, but not Bone Season, and this is Among the Burning Flowers. This is a prequel to the Roots of Chaos series, and I was not expecting this to be so small. The Roots of Chaos books are like 900 pages. Why is this less than 300? How dare she? A nice chunky book is Heavenly Tyrant by Zhao. This is the second book in the Iron Widow trilogy. I didn't realise it was going to be a trilogy. I need the 3rd book now. Then We Are Not Numbers, edited by Ahmed Alnaouq and Pam Bailey. This is a collection of short stories, of essays, of discussions from people starting in, I believe, 2015 and going up until, is it going to tell me? 2023 to the present, and talking about life in occupied Palestine and in occupied Gaza specifically. This was a really interesting book. So many of the people writing in here are young. Quite a few of them have since been murdered by the IOF. It's not the lightest of reads. Then The Dark Mirror by Samantha Shannon. This one isn't a reread, it's the book that came out in 2025. And I did love this one. Then Network Effect by Martha Wells. This is the 5th Murderbot book and the first full novel. Murderbot is a security unit that has managed to hack their own governance module and no longer has to respond to the powers from on high, and instead of doing anything dangerous, just decides that they want to watch soap operas and then ends up helping out the idiot humans that are in its care. This is book 5, obviously. Similar to the Bone Season, a lot has happened since then, but I adore Murderbot. With everything I have, I adore the books so much. Then another reread, but this time just of a much older variety. Goodnight, Mr. Tom by Michelle Magorian. I reread this because I mentioned to my dad my favourite book, and he was like, "Oh, Goodnight, Mr. Tom," and I'm like, "Dad, you're a few decades out of date." I was expecting him to think of The Gift, the first book in the Pelennor series. Peep my name. And no, he thought it was Goodnight, Mr. Tom, but to be fair to him, this was my favourite when I was a child. So it just reminded me that I loved this book, and I decided to reread it, and I had a fantastic time with it. I think it's the first time I've reread it as a true adult. I may have reread it at 18 or 19, but I'm a decade on from then, and I had a very different experience with it, and I loved it. I should say what the different experience was. When I read this, I remember thinking that Mr. Tom was a grumpy old man that did not want to take William Beach in as an evacuee. Reading this then as an adult instead, I realised that he wasn't reluctant, he was just a little gruff, and he wasn't grumpy about it, he was perfectly happy to take Willie in. So that was a very different dynamic change and a shift in how I was reading the novel, which I love. Then Citadel by Kate Mosse. This is set a little bit in 300 AD, but primarily in early 1940s France in Carcassonne, and we are following the female resistance fighters trying to get the Nazis out of the country. This made me cry. Then we have Forest of Noise by Mosab Abu Toha. This is a collection of poetry that is all about Palestine and survival under occupation and genocide. This was easy to read in that they are poems and they are short, but was hard to read in what hits you with every line. She hugs each child, still here after every bomb, and if she knows a bomb is about to light up the sky and the room, she covers her kid's eyes and loudly asks, "What can you see when your eyes are closed?" hoping her trembling voice may hide the bomb's eradicating sound. I just opened a random page. This was a really moving book of poetry. Not every poem is about the genocide, but reading them in the context of them living through that genocide. Then we have Fugitive Telemetry by Martha Wells. This is the 6th Murderbot book. Of course I still can't say too much about this one, but I will say that this has a murder mystery in it, and I adore that so much. Monstrous Regiment by Terry Pratchett. We follow a young girl named Polly who decides to dress up as a boy and join the army for her people, and the adventures that come along with that, the hardships of being in the military and the risk that you have, the camaraderie that you make with your regiment and with those who conscript alongside you, and the realities of war, as well as also just Discworld as well. So fantastic. Black History for Every Day of the Year, written by David Olusoga, Yinka Olusoga and Kemi Olusoga. I have been reading this. I was reading one entry every single day from the 13th of October until the 12th of October, and this was just absolutely fantastic. I learned about so many people I'd never heard about. Most, not all, but most of the events I already knew. But obviously that won't be the case for everyone. But there were a number of people that I had never heard about. I'm opening it and I know them. There we go, Quincy Jones. Hadn't known about. There are so many names, places, people and events and organisations that are in here, and this is just really good. I was quite upset that I didn't have any more to read once I finished it on the 12th of October, and I will still return to it on occasional days to read the entry for that day. I guess reread. But yeah, very good short infographic bits each and every day so that you are continuously learning. So good, so good. Then House of Open Wounds by Adrian Tchaikovsky. This is the second book in the series, so again I don't want to ruin too much of it. I also mentioned this in my 10 best books, so I have a bit more of a description in there, but this is another military one. We are following someone who has joined the army that has actually colonised their country, and they've joined it in the medical tent, and there is a magic system, but there's also discussions on the colonisation, and very good, very good. Then Bitterblue by Kristin, the third book in the Graceling series. This one we follow a young princess who is trying to improve her country, and the country is in an absolute shit show because of her father's grace, his magic power, and what he then did to the country using it. And it's her trying to, she's only just turned 18, so she's been told a lot of lies, and it's her trying to find out more about what's actually happening to her country so that she can help fix it. And then last but never ever least was my reread of A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. I reread this each and every year. If you somehow don't know the story of A Christmas Carol, we follow Scrooge, who is visited by the ghosts of Christmas past, present and yet to come, and these ghosts change his perspective and his outlook on other people, and he goes from a grumpy motherfucker to a cheerful little bitch, and we love it. And those, I'm not picking them up again, it was bad enough the first time. Those are my 25-star reads in 2025. I I'm very happy that it's a nice round number. I didn't do this on purpose, it just happened, and we love that. Oh. But I would love to know in the comments below, have you read any of these? I'd love to know your opinions on them. I know not everyone will like them. People often don't like classics, for example, and so yes, I would love to hear any agreeing or disagreeing views down in the comments below. But I just hope that 2026 has as good of a year as this turned out to be. Thank you so much for watching, folks, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!